Hello everyone, I am Dr. Trupti. Welcome to my channel Enjoy Biochemistry. In today's video, we are going to learn about regulation of blood glucose level, and this topic is very important for long answer question. Normal blood glucose concentration is usually maintained within the narrow limits, both under fasting condition as well as in the well-fed state. And this maintenance of plasma glucose concentration within the narrow limits is essential for health, because brain and RBC, they require glucose for energy purpose, and brain is vulnerable to hypoglycemia because it cannot utilize circulating fatty acid as an energy source. Although ketone bodies are oxidized by the brain, but that development of ketosis requires number of hours, so that the pathway is not effective against acute hypoglycemia, and that's why the blood glucose regulation both in the well-fed condition and in the fasting state is very important. What is meant by fasting blood glucose? The blood glucose concentration after 12 hours of overnight meal, it is called as fasting blood glucose, and the range is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter. And the postprandial blood glucose means the blood glucose concentration after 2 hours of meal. It is called as postprandial blood glucose concentration, and normally it should be less than 140 milligram per deciliter. Now what is hypoglycemia? So when blood glucose concentration is less than the normal range, it is called as hypoglycemia, and there are various levels of hypoglycemia. In the level 1, the blood glucose concentration when it is less than 70 milligram per deciliter and more than or equal to 54 milligram per deciliter, it is level 1 hypoglycemia. In the level 2, the blood glucose level reaches to less than 54 milligram per deciliter, and in the level 3 is associated with altered mental and or physical status which require assistance, and hypoglycemia is detrimental. Now what is hyperglycemia? When blood glucose concentration is more than the normal range, it is called as hyperglycemia, and when blood glucose concentration reaches to 180 milligram per deciliter, after this range it starts appearing in the urine, because normally what happens, all blood glucose is filtered by the kidney but it is completely reabsorbed. But when blood glucose level reaches to 180, after this level it cannot be completely reabsorbed and it starts appearing in the urine, and that's why 180 milligram per deciliter, it is called as renal threshold for glucose. And after this blood glucose concentration is more than 180 milligram per deciliter, glucose starts appearing in the urine, and this condition is called as glycosuria. Blood glucose regulation is dependent on the balance between the pathways that cause entry of glucose into the blood and the pathways that cause removal of glucose from the blood. So there should be balance between the sources of glucose and utilization of glucose. Now what are the sources of glucose? Pathways that cause entry of glucose into the blood, and they are digestion and absorption of dietary carbohydrates like starch, glycogen, lactose, sucrose. These are the dietary carbohydrates. Then glycogenolysis, that is the breakdown of glycogen into glucose, and it occurs in the liver. So glycogenolysis in the liver leads to glucose formation. Then gluconeogenesis, that is the synthesis of new glucose from non-carbohydrate precursors like alanine, lactate, glycerol, propionyl CoA. So this gluconeogenesis also acts as a source of glucose. Then metabolism of galactose in the liver and metabolism of fructose in the liver leads to formation of glucose. Now what are the various ways of utilization of glucose? And the pathways are, first pathway is aerobic glycolysis, in which glucose is converted to pyruvate, and later pyruvate is converted to acetyl-CoA, where acetyl-CoA is oxidized through TCA cycle to form carbon dioxide and water, and in the anaerobic glycolysis lactate is formed from pyruvate. The second pathway of utilization is formation of glycogen, that is glycogenesis. The third pathway is lipogenesis, that is synthesis of fatty acid, and later these fatty acids are stored as triacylglycerol in adipose tissue, and this is also one of the pathway which removes glucose from the blood, that is lipogenesis. Glucose can enter HMP pathway, and this HMP pathway is meant for synthesis of pentoses and NADPH. One of the fate is uronic acid pathway, in which UDP glucuronate and pentose sugars are formed. And glucose is also utilized for synthesis of amino sugars, glycoproteins, amino acids and glycolipids. So the blood glucose level is dependent on the balance between these pathways that cause entry of glucose in the blood and the pathways that cause removal of glucose from the blood. The major metabolic pathways that regulate blood glucose level, they are in turn regulated by hormones. So there are two types of hormones, hypoglycemic hormones and hyperglycemic hormone. Hypoglycemic hormone is the one which will decrease blood glucose level, and hyperglycemic hormones are those which will increase blood glucose level. So the hypoglycemic hormone example is insulin. Insulin is called as hypoglycemic hormone because after the intake of food, when blood glucose level is increased, during that time insulin is secreted from the beta cells of islets of Langerhans, and it will help to bring back the blood glucose level to the normal, and that's why it is called as hypoglycemic hormone. This is the hormone of well-fed condition. Now when blood glucose level starts reaching below the normal, then comes into action the hormone which are called as hyperglycemic hormone, which will increase the blood glucose concentration, and the important one is glucagon, and this glucagon is secreted by alpha cells of islets of Langerhans. So normally blood glucose level is maintained with the concentration or the balance between this insulin and glucagon. There are other hyperglycemic hormones as well, which will help in the increase of blood glucose concentration when it starts falling below the normal range. So the other hyperglycemic hormones are epinephrine. It is secreted by adrenal medulla. Then cortisol, which is secreted by adrenal cortex. Growth hormone. Growth hormone is secreted by anterior pituitary. Adrenocorticotropic hormone is also secreted by anterior pituitary, and thyroxine, which is secreted by thyroid gland. So there are 6 hyperglycemic hormones: glucagon, epinephrine, cortisol, growth hormone, ACTH and thyroxine, out of which glucagon has predominant role in decreasing the increasing the blood glucose concentration, and while there is only one hypoglycemic hormone, that is insulin, which will bring the blood glucose level to the normal range when it is increased after intake of meal. So there is balance between this hypoglycemic and hyperglycemic hormones so that the blood glucose level is maintained within the narrow range of that normal range, both in the well-fed state and in the fasting condition. Now let's study the effects of hormone insulin. Insulin is called as hypoglycemic hormone. It is the hormone of well-fed condition because it is released when the person consumes diet rich in carbohydrate, as well as if the diet rich in arginine. It leads to increased blood glucose concentration, and it can reach up to 140 mg per deciliter. And insulin helps to bring back that blood glucose concentration to its fasting condition, fasting level, that is 70 to 100 mg per deciliter. So after the consumption of carbohydrate rich food, there is hyperglycemia. So blood glucose level is increased in the blood. The organs like pancreas, that is pancreatic beta cells, and liver, also the brain, they are not dependent on insulin for uptake of glucose. So glucose is taken up by these organs. So glucose is taken up by the beta cells of pancreas. Now what happens in the beta cells of pancreas? This glucose is converted to pyruvate, then to acetyl-CoA, which is later oxidized through TCA cycle, and there is formation of ATP. Inside the beta cells of pancreas, this ATP, it inhibits voltage gated potassium channel, and it causes depolarization of membrane, and in turn there is opening of calcium channel, and the entry of calcium inside the beta cells of pancreas, it helps in the release of insulin from the which is trapped in the vesicle inside the beta cells of pancreas, and thus there is release of insulin from the beta cells of pancreas. So there is release of insulin now. Though the uptake of glucose by liver is not dependent on insulin, the further metabolic pathways that occur liver, they are dependent on insulin. For example, after uptake of glucose inside the liver, this glucose is channeled to the, means it undergoes glycolysis, and the glucose is also channeled to the formation of glycogen, that is glycogenesis. So insulin is required for activating the enzyme of glycogenesis, that is glycogen synthase, and it activates the enzyme glycogen synthase by causing dephosphorylation, as well as it also increases lipogenesis by increasing the glycolytic pathway, and also by increasing the fatty acid synthesis by activating acetyl-CoA carboxylase, and it is activated by its dephosphorylation. Along with this, insulin also decreases the process of gluconeogenesis by inactivating the enzymes of gluconeogenesis. Also, it inhibits the process of glycogenolysis by dephosphorylating the enzyme glycogen phosphorylase, and this glycogen phosphorylase is inactive in its dephosphorylated condition. So that's how insulin will, in the liver, insulin will help to convert this glucose into glycogen, and and as well as the fatty acid synthesis, and also it will decrease the formation of new glucose from non-carbohydrate precursors through the process of gluconeogenesis, and as well as from the breakdown of glycogen, and thus it will help to decrease blood glucose concentration in the liver. So liver is the major organ which plays role to decrease the hyperglycemia or to decrease the blood glucose concentration. Now adipose tissue, they express GLUT4 receptors which are dependent on insulin. Along with the adipose tissue, muscles also express GLUT4 receptors, and this the entry of glucose inside the adipose tissue as well as muscle, it is dependent on this insulin, because GLUT4 receptors are insulin dependent. So with the help of insulin, there is uptake of glucose by this adipose tissue as well as muscle. So insulin will increase peripheral uptake of glucose in the adipose tissue, and that glucose will be utilized in the glycolysis, and further that insulin will also help in the process of lipogenesis in the adipose tissue. What happens in the muscle? In the muscle also there is increased peripheral uptake of glucose, and it will help in the glycogenesis. Insulin will help in the glycogenesis, and it will also decrease glycogenolysis. Though the muscle glycogen is not required, or it is not helpful for maintaining blood glucose concentration, but the process of glycogenolysis is decreased in the muscle as well. So these are the various pathways which are regulated by insulin, and that's how insulin, by increasing the peripheral uptake of glucose and by increasing the process of, or activating the process of glycogenesis and lipogenesis, it will bring back the increased blood glucose level to its normal range, that is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter, and that's why it is called as hypoglycemic hormone. After 2.5 hours of meal, due to the action of insulin, blood glucose level reaches to its fasting level, that is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter, and it can reach further low, less than 70, but it is prevented by the hyperglycemic hormone, mainly glucagon. So whenever there is hypoglycemia, when the blood glucose level goes below 70 milligram per deciliter, there is release of glucagon from alpha cells of islets of Langerhans, and because of release of glucagon in the circulation, the processes in the liver like gluconeogenesis, that is synthesis of new glucose from non-carbohydrate precursors, and breakdown of glycogen, that is glycogenolysis, it is increased in the liver, as well as the process of glycogenesis is decreased. So glucagon has role in the gluconeogenesis by activating the enzymes of gluconeogenesis, and it will activate glycogen phosphorylase by phosphorylating it, as well as it will decrease glycogenesis by inactivating glycogen synthase, and that's how the liver plays role also here in maintaining blood glucose concentration whenever there is hypoglycemia. So glucagon plays a role to maintain blood glucose concentration, to bring back it to normal level, that is 70 to 100 milligram per deciliter. There is no role of muscle in maintaining blood glucose concentration. We know that glucose is stored in the muscle as glycogen, but that glycogen cannot be utilized for maintaining blood glucose level because muscle lack the enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase, and that's why glucose 6 phosphate cannot be converted into glucose in the muscle, and that's why muscle has no role in maintaining blood glucose level. Now, what are the effects of other hyperglycemic hormones like epinephrine, which is synthesized by adrenal medulla, and cortisol, which is secreted by adrenal cortex? So what are the actions of epinephrine? This epinephrine in the liver, it will increase the process of gluconeogenesis, and it will also increase the rate of glycogenolysis in both liver as well as muscle. Along with this epinephrine decreases the process of glycogenesis in the liver and muscle, and it also decreases lipogenesis in adipose tissue and liver. The cortisol, what is the role of cortisol? It increases the process of gluconeogenesis, and thus it helps in increasing blood glucose concentration in the liver by increasing the process of gluconeogenesis in the liver and by decreasing peripheral uptake of glucose in the adipose tissue and muscle. And that's how both these hormones, epinephrine and cortisol, they are hyperglycemic hormones. There are three more hyperglycemic hormones like growth hormone, ACTH and thyroxine. So what is the role of growth hormone? It will decrease peripheral uptake of glucose in adipose tissue and muscle, and it will also decrease the rate of lipogenesis in the adipose tissue and liver, and that's how it will increase blood glucose. It will help to increase the blood glucose concentration. ACTH will decrease peripheral uptake of glucose in adipose tissue and muscle, and it will increase the rate of gluconeogenesis in the liver. Thyroxine will decrease the sensitivity to the effects of insulin, and it will increase the process of glycogenolysis both in the liver as well as muscle, and that's how they play a minor role as compared to glucagon in increasing blood glucose concentration. There are various disorders associated with blood glucose regulation which either results in hyperglycemia or hypoglycemia. So we will not discuss all these disorders in detail, but let's see some important causes of hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. So the causes of hyperglycemia are diabetes mellitus is the most common and important cause. Other causes are hyperactivity of pituitary, thyroid and adrenal glands. For example, in conditions of hyperthyroidism, hyperadrenalism, hyperpituitarism, and whenever there is prolonged use of steroids. So in all these conditions, there can be hyperglycemia. But remember, diabetes mellitus is the most common cause. And the most common cause of hypoglycemia is also diabetes mellitus, the patient who is on treatment of insulin. So whenever there is excess dose of insulin or patient forgets to take meal after taking insulin injection, in that case, hypoglycemia can result. Another conditions are insulinoma. In conditions of alcohol consumption, it results in the hypoglycemia. In adrenal insufficiency, hypopituitarism, various glycogen storage diseases, they are also associated with hypoglycemia. Hereditary fructose tolerance, galactosemia, these are the other causes of hypoglycemia. So these are the various disorders or conditions which are associated with blood glucose regulation. So in this today's video, we have discussed the regulation of blood glucose level and why it is significant, what are the various hormones which help in maintaining the balance of normal blood glucose concentration, what is the action of insulin, why it is called as hypoglycemic hormone, and what are the various hormones which are called as hyperglycemic hormone and how they increase blood glucose level. So I hope this video will be useful to you. Thank you for watching.